Ladies, have you ever felt like you're putting real effort into a relationship? You're communicating, you're showing up, you're trying to be thoughtful and attentive, and your guy still seems a little off. Distant. Flat. Like something's missing, but he won't say what. And when you ask him directly, he says, "I'm fine," with all the conviction of someone who is absolutely not fine. We tend to operate under this assumption that men are emotionally simple, that what they need is easy to read and easy to meet. But what psychology actually shows is that men have emotional needs in relationships that are just as real and just as complex as women's. They're just almost never voiced. And the reason they're not voiced isn't because men don't feel them. It's because most men were never taught that having them was okay. There's a term in psychology for this, the male emotional inexpressively norm. It refers to the deeply embedded social conditioning that teaches boys from a very young age that expressing emotional needs is a sign of weakness, that needing things from people makes you less of a man, that the correct response to difficulty is to push through it silently. And so they do. They suppress, they minimize, they say, "I'm fine," even when they're not, because saying otherwise never felt like an option. Dr. Ronald Levant, a psychologist at the University of Akron, has spent his career studying this. He developed the concept of normative male alexithymia, which is a clinical way of describing the difficulty many men have, identifying and putting words to their own emotional states. It's not that they don't feel, it's that the emotional vocabulary and the permission to use it was never fully developed. So what happens is that the need doesn't go away, it just comes out sideways. As irritability, as withdrawal, as a kind of dull emotional flatness that partners feel but can't quite explain. Let's talk about what those unexpressed needs actually are, because naming them matters. The first one is the need for respect, and I want to be clear about what this means because it's often misunderstood. For a lot of men, love and respect are not interchangeable. A man can feel loved by his partner, he can know she cares about him and still feel invisible, even undervalued if his judgment and his efforts aren't being acknowledged. This isn't about ego in the negative sense, it's about feeling like a capable, competent partner rather than someone who's being managed or corrected. When a man consistently feels like his decisions are being second-guessed, or his way of doing things is being dismissed, it doesn't just frustrate him, it quietly chips away at his investment in the relationship. For her, this can be a hard one to navigate because sometimes the things she's noticing genuinely need to be addressed. But there's a difference between having a conversation about a real concern and communicating even unintentionally that you don't trust his judgment as a partner. The first one is healthy communication. The second one, over time, does real damage. The second need is to feel appreciated for what he does. This one is connected to something fundamental about how a lot of men experience love. They tend to express it through action. Fixing things, handling logistics, showing up when it's inconvenient, doing things quietly in the background that he assumes she notices but maybe doesn't. When those efforts go consistently unacknowledged, he doesn't just feel unappreciated, he starts to feel like he's failing. Like no matter what he does, it's not landing. And over time, that feeling makes him less likely to try. This isn't about needing constant praise, it's about basic acknowledgement. A "thank you for handling that," or "I noticed you did that, it meant a lot," costs almost nothing and does more than most people realize. It fills something in him that was running low without either of you being aware of it. The third need, and this one creates a lot of unnecessary conflict, is the need to decompress without it being interpreted as distance. For a lot of men, the transition from the outside world back into the home requires a period of quiet, not because they don't want to be with you, not because something is wrong, but because their nervous system genuinely needs to downshift before they can be fully present. It's the same reason some people need a few minutes alone after work before they're ready to engage. He's not shutting you out, he's filling back up so he can actually show up. When that need for decompression is consistently met with "what's wrong" or interpreted as withdrawal, it creates a new problem on top of the original one. He starts to feel like he can't be in an off mode at home, and home becomes another place where he has to perform being okay. That's exhausting, and over time it makes him less likely to come home fully. The fourth need is one of the most important and the least talked about. He needs to feel like the relationship is a safe place to be imperfect. Men are carrying a lot of pressure. Professional pressure, financial pressure, the pressure of social expectations about what it means to be a man. If home becomes another place where he feels like he's being evaluated, where his struggles are received with disappointment or judgment rather than support, he will slowly stop bringing his real self there. He'll show up, but he'll be performing. And the distance that creates is real, even if nothing dramatic has happened. Emotional safety. The feeling that you can show up honestly, including in your weakest moments, without it being held against you, is something men need just as much as women do. They're just far less likely to ask for it directly. If any of this resonated with you, I want you to hear this clearly. Having emotional needs is not weakness. It is not something to be embarrassed about. It is part of being human. And the more you're able to name what you need, even imperfectly, even awkwardly, the better chance your relationship has. Ladies, none of this is your responsibility to fix alone. But understanding that these needs exist and that they're being carried in silence changes the dynamic. It makes the distance make more sense, and it opens up a different kind of conversation. Tell us in the comments, what's one thing you wish your partner understood about you without you having to explain it? We'd genuinely love to know. And if this one hit different, please do like and share this video.